Michigan Out of Doors Magazine's OD is brought to you by Williams Gun Sight, located in Davison. Williams Gun Sight has Mid-Michigan's largest selection of used guns with over 2,000 in stock every day. Check out the website to view inventory and prices. And by the Ultimate Sports Show in Grand Rapids, featuring Big Buck Night West, Trout Pond, Deer Processing Demo, Lake Ultimate, and great seminars from the pros at the DeVos Place, March 15th through the 18th.
Knives became interesting to me when I was doing blacksmithing and I was making tools. I was making some axes, hatchets, that type of thing. And I went to the Artist Blacksmiths Association, North American Artist Blacksmiths Association, to a big conference. And I met a fellow by the name of Don Fogg, who I had a conversation with, and he told me about Damascus steel. And I went home and tried forging some Damascus steel, and lo and behold, it actually worked, and I got hooked. And that was back in I'm gonna say 95, somewhere in there. And I've been doing it ever since. And that's basically, you know, this whole thing, kind of like a hobby that's gone way out of control, you know? Yeah. We're using two different types of steel, okay? One of these steels is the one with that has about 1.5% nickel in it, which adds toughness to the steel. Okay, these are both tool steels, they're not stainless steels. And we stack them alternating layers to build up what's called a billet, which is this. Now there's 25 layers in there, okay? And they are all, as again, alternating layers all throughout. All right, of the individual piece. And what I'm going to do is put this in the forge at 2300 degrees, let it heat up again to 2300 degrees, and weld it all together so it's one piece of steel. Okay. What I'm going to end up with after it's welded, it's going to look like this. That is now one solid piece of steel that I started with this. After that, I start drawing it out. Drawing it out means making it longer to something like this. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll cut pieces and restack them to like, such as this. And what I'm doing is I'm building up the layer count. So I originally started with 25 layers, welded those together, draw it out, cut, restacked it, so now I have 100 layers. And I can do that as many times as I want to build up to whatever layer count I want. Now, going to a high layer count sounds pretty cool, but it isn't always the best thing. It depends upon the pattern you're developing. The temperature's getting a little, change it in the center now a little bit. It takes time, that's all. And you can still see, hopefully on camera, you can still see the individual layers. From this point, I'll probably cut this into 4 pieces, restack them into a new billet, such as this piece, and then I'll re-weld that. Okay, and that's how you get your layer count up, how you develop your different patterns. And I might do that again. I might do it 3 or 4 times, depending upon the number of layers I want and where I want to end up. And from there, when I'm done with my layer count, then I go to my dies, my forming dies, for the ladder pattern, for the teardrop pattern. This piece is a feather pattern, all stacked up and then slit down the middle. All those layers are pulled in. All different types of patterns, infinite number. When we're done forging the steel and we've made the blade, in order for the knife to become a good cutting tool, all right, it has to hold an edge. At first, we go through the hardening process, which is heating it up to 1500 degrees and then quenching in oil. Then it is completely hard, but it's almost it is too hard at that point. It's like glass. Okay, it's susceptible to breakage and to cracking. And in order to prevent that, what we want to do is put it into a heat treating oven, or it can be your own home oven actually, and different temperatures will lower and soften the steel just a little bit, but enough that it's tough and it will hold an edge. In other words, it won't crack. It'll be a good using tool then. And that's what the tempering cycle is all about. Okay, so what we're doing, this has gone through a cycle, and this steel, we're taking this out, and you can see, I don't know if the camera will be able to show it, but there's a yellow color, which is what we're looking for. And that is fully heat treated, okay, and it's ready for finish. For the finish on the, now from this point on, what I'll do is I'll hand sand it down to 1000 grit. I'll start at 320. It's about a 220 finish right now. I'll take it right down 320, 400, 600, maybe 1000, and finish it all off, and then we'll etch it. And that's a pretty exciting part. That's where the pattern will actually show up. Right now you can't see any pattern in this. There is a nice pattern in there, and we'll show that. As I had previously said, there's contrasting layers of steel in this blade, and we've welded the steel together, built up a certain layer count. This is a twisted pattern, so we've twisted that layer count in that steel. Now we're going to etch it to help bring the pattern out. What the etching does is it etches away a little bit more on one than the other. The nickel's resistant, and the etching will make the steel with the magnesium dark. The steel with the nickel will remain silver or lighter, and the etching just really brings the contrast out. What we have here is an etched blade, and what I'll do is do that many times, maybe 4 or 5 times, and each time card it off with some very fine paper, like 2000 grit, and that's your pattern though. That's it right there. And that was a twisted, double twisted strand. Okay, these are some of the materials that are used on my knives for the handles. This is mother of pearl. This is mammoth ivory scales, okay, for the handles. This is stag. This is mammoth tooth, which has been dyed. Beautiful stuff. This is kind of unusual. This is a piece of meteorite, and I use that for the bolsters on my folding knives. Cut small bolsters out of them, and I use a lot of wood. This is beautiful. This is called Tasmanian eucalyptus fiddleback burl. It's a great wood. If you can see it on camera, the great figure in there, very curly, beautiful wood.